If you're a person who's always wanted to move away and travel, and you just never felt this like place of belonging and constantly had this internal search, why do you think that is? Because for me, when I was growing up, I always had that. I've had that my entire life when I was growing up. And I always had this desire to move away, find somewhere new, see the world. And more than just seeing the world, I wanted to discover if that place was right for me. And I would try to get my family to move often, and just for one reason or another, it just wasn't time for us to move, or for them to move, or our family just couldn't move, for various reasons. But I always had that urge in me and tried to convince other people in my life to pack up and move somewhere else, somewhere different. And I would often ask them, don't you have that desire to see other places? And there's so much more out there than just what we know. All of that. And I felt that way for a very, very long time. And when I would bring that up to people and try to ask them if they feel something similar, they would often tell me that it could possibly be this issue that I need to fix internally. If you constantly want to move away, maybe that means that you aren't internally happy. Maybe you need to do some soul searching. Maybe it's a way of running away from your problems or something like that. And that never sat right with me, because I didn't feel like I was unhappy in my place of living, And even if I did in some areas, I wished some things would change in my life, or I wished some things were, different or whatever. I didn't feel like any of that was tied to geographically where I was. Maybe some small minor aspects, but overall, no. And I did just spend some time doing some soul searching, because it's well, if that's what people are telling me, if people keep telling me that the fact that I keep wanting to go away and move somewhere else and explore and find the place that I belong, the place that makes me feel like everything's in alignment, then maybe that's a me issue. Maybe there's something internally not in alignment. So I did some soul searching as to what that is, and could I potentially find alignment where I was. And it was interesting, because I had also experienced what it felt like to feel in alignment with something in my life, and as though something was just perfect, or just how it was meant to be. Maybe not perfect, we don't live in a perfect world, but something was just in alignment with itself and just where it was meant to be. And yet, still, for some reason, I kept trying to push this away, because I think just because I had that outside influence of, if you're not happy here, you're not going to be happy anywhere. And it's or if you're not satisfied and feel like you're in the right place here, then it's just going to carry with you. And I totally understood that sentiment, because I do believe that that can be the case for many people and for many parts of life. But every time I tried to build my life around the place where I grew up, or even places outside of where I grew up that were adjacent, or things that seemed more passable, or more accepting to other people, that's when I just felt still so unaligned. And I worked on myself in every other aspect. I worked on, or tried to work on myself in every other aspect. I really tried to work on other ways to fulfill my happiness and to feel satisfied in life. And I would feel so at peace in so many other areas except for this. It was this glaring thing that I almost felt like I'm settling for. And I would tell myself, like, okay, well, maybe they're right. Maybe it is a misalignment. And if I do travel one day, which I hope, I always wanted to, if and when I do travel one day, I'm not going to go into it with that mindset of, like, is this it? I'm not going to be searching for that. I'm not going to be even thinking about that, because that's the issue, right? That's the issue that people seem to think I have. And so that's what I told myself. It just didn't feel right. And then there was a moment or a time in my life, I was still pretty young, and so I was still living at home. I was a young adult, still living at home, and it was time for my family to move. My family and just the circumstances aligned for us to not live where we were, and anywhere was open to us because we didn't really have too many ties where we were, strangely enough. And so all of us as a family were looking up different places to live and move. And this was such an exciting part of my life, but I still tried to not have that feeling within me. It wasn't a conscious effort anymore. It just was sort of this knowing of, like, oh yeah, I don't do that, almost in this off limits territory in my spirit, I guess, that I created. But then we set forth on the Upper Peninsula, which is still in the same state. It felt safe. The Upper Peninsula of Michigan. It felt safer. It felt like it's not like this crazy, too crazy of a journey. It was crazy, kind of, but not too much. It was familiar. We're still in the same state. We still, I don't know. It made sense. But once I got up here, once I made it past the Mackinac Bridge, everything changed, and it felt like I was only getting closer and closer to that place. And it became a knowing for me. This is where I was meant to be. This is where I belong. And I don't mean that societally, I just mean everything felt right. And geographically, I felt like it was it was stunning, beautiful. I mean, so rugged, but there's just so many aspects that I love about the Upper Peninsula, and I do talk about that a lot, but it just started to click for me that this is what I was missing. And then as I saw the seasons change, I really began to realize that this is what I was missing. I never knew thunderstorms could be this way. I never knew rain could be this way. I never knew snow could be this way, or ice formations, or what have you. And I say all this to say, not that you need to move to the Upper Peninsula by any means, because I don't think this is for everybody. I don't think everybody will find it as stunning and beautiful as I do. in Lake Superior. Don't even get me started on Lake Superior. When I was closer to Lake Superior, the better I felt. Even while I was sick, I talk about my journey being sick with toxic mold on here quite often, and even being homeless. And when I felt like a zombie, I'll say that, I felt my clearest, my most brightest, my most at peace. And I would, even though the rest of the time I would feel like my life was in utter chaos and a downward spiral, a tornado with no hope. It was terrible. When I would get close to Lake Superior, the closer I would get to Lake Superior, the more I felt like everything is going to be okay. And I started to crave getting out there and being close to Lake Superior and having that clarity of mind and having that peace that I had. And that's just me. I know a lot of people, I don't know how, because for me, this is my home. So I don't know how this is possible. But to me, it doesn't make sense. But to a lot of people, they don't feel that way. A lot of people, they think it's beautiful, but they don't feel the connection, the connectivity. They don't feel the, aha, I'm at home, I'm at peace, things are in alignment. They don't feel that way. And so I say to you that if you are right now feeling like you just don't have a place where you belong, and you're having that soul searching moment of where do I belong in life, and maybe I should travel, and all of that. Definitely recommend looking internally first and checking with yourself. Am I running away from something? Do I feel like if I move away, that the place that I am currently is going to be this subject of fear, this place that I can't touch, this place that I can't go back to, this place that I'm running away from? Because that's not a place that you want to exist in. That's not a place you want to live. That's not a place you want to be mentally. Because if there's a place in your life that you can't access, that you just tell yourself like, that's off limits, that's scary, let's just say that's not a good place to be, and that can easily spread to other areas of your life and cause somewhat of a prison over yourself. It's really not a good place to be. So look internally. Maybe this is your call to look internally and ask yourself if you're running away from something, and why do I feel like I don't belong, and why, what am I looking for, what are the criteria that I am looking for. And even if you don't know that, even just the energy, the feeling that you were looking for, the energy that you are seeking to feel when you are there. And if you got that all down, and maybe go find it, because it might not be what everybody else is thinking. It might not be what people tend to tell you, that it's an internal issue. It's if you don't find your place of being here, you're not going to find it anywhere. And I think that those things can be true, but I don't think they're always true. And I think many people feel that sort of emptiness for a long time when they don't have to. Then when the answer is out there, when there is a place out there for them. I think another thing to ask yourself and to delve into is the question of whether or not it is geographical. Is it geographical? Is it social? Is it, what is the emptiness? Pinpoint it, find it. delve into it, ask it questions. Because if it's a social thing, there are aspects and ways that you can form that social aspect near you. You've just got to think out of the box a little bit. Or maybe you will move geographically to form this different social culture, or to find this different social culture that you fit into. But it could be geographical. It really could be. It could be simply that the place that you are right now geographically isn't feeding you. And I mean, there's so many aspects to that that maybe are a factor, you know? Like, I feel so much better when I am by Lake Superior, so much better. And back in the day, back in the late 1800s, early 1900s, doctors would send their patients to, go by the seaside, but go by Lake Superior to get healing, to get rejuvenated, I don't remember which epidemic specifically, but there were certain epidemics in the area that caused people to go by Lake Superior and heal. And when I think about that, I'm like, maybe there's something to that. Of course, we have modern medicine, and we don't, doctors aren't recommending their patients do that anymore. But I'm sure there was something to that. Some of the minerals in the water, we have great minerals in this water here. And maybe that's, for me, what my body has been craving, is this increase in minerals from this inland sea, and the air, maybe there's something about my body, the way I'm built, that needs the air that's a little bit fresher up here, that's a little bit more north. Maybe something about the lakes from the different directions helps my personal body. But maybe for you, that's something else. Maybe for you, that's the ocean. A lot of people, they thrive when they're near the ocean, and they're not much of a lake person. I mean, that's huge. Our bodies are all so different from one another. I have to imagine that some of these things are related to it, to this feeling that we have. Because so often our bodies know what we need more than we do. So that's just a theory, Maybe you need to be more near trees, because we have a big mixture of old and new trees up here. Some were cut down by logging, and so they're relatively new, like in the 1900s. So, I mean, new meaning 100 years old, but still. And some even newer than that. So maybe you need old trees. Maybe you need, certain soil. I mean, all over the world, but all over the United States even, there is such different terrain, such different soil, such different nutrients. I just have to imagine that our bodies know where they want to go. And so that emptiness might be that. Not saying pack up your whole family and move away. I think if you have a family, it's a little bit different. But I haven't felt that since moving here. And, I'm now in my late 20s. I'm not, it's been a while since I moved up here. I think I'm approaching my 8th year up here, and I haven't felt that emptiness since. I felt completely like, this is it, I do think traveling is amazing, and I would love to travel, but for a completely different reason. I think I gain a lot of knowledge. I love history. I love culture. It's not to find home. I feel planted and I feel a complete alignment. Maybe not in every area of my life, but this one, yeah. And I think that could be the case for a lot of people. So if you are feeling that way, this might be, I don't know, this might be your little nudge to go and find that, wherever that is for you. So yeah,